Okay, I think we'll make a start. I'm sure Rebecca will let anybody in who's joining. Welcome along to this Mastering Windows 11 webinar. Quite a few different topics to look at. Starting out with an introduction. So we'll have a look at some information just on the Windows 10 end of life, introduction to Windows 11, and we'll have a look at the new the user interface, some design enhancements. We'll have a look at some productivity and multitasking features, and then just some detail on additional performance and security features within Windows 11. So Windows 10 will go end of life on the 14th of October this year. So as of this date, Microsoft will no longer provide any updates or support for Windows 10, hence their big push to get everybody to move over to Windows 11 prior to this. The end of life, as it's noted, it does impact all versions of Windows 10. So whether it's Home, Pro, Enterprise, as of the 14th of October, it will no longer be supported by Microsoft. So let's have a bit of an overview of Windows 11. So the design of it is it's designed to be more streamlined, a more modern looking interface. The whole idea of it is that it's a much cleaner, tidier interface, also with features to hopefully improve productivity. The start menu that we'll have a look at has been changed. So hopefully it's much more intuitive and give you very easy access to your applications and settings. The taskbar has also had a bit of a redesign, again, just to make life easier for accessing your tools and applications. So some of the differences between Windows 10 and 11, as I'd mentioned, the interface has been redesigned, and as I'd say, it focuses on it being much more a cleaner or streamlined sort of view. Some of the productivity features that we'll have a look at are certainly for Windows 10 and previous. Quite a lot of you have quite possibly used the snap feature of being able to have two different windows arranged on screen. Windows 11 takes this onto another level of managing multiple apps and windows. Just some information on Windows 11. It's designed to boot up faster, more efficient resource management and smoother multitasking. Microsoft have recognized people are no longer working in just one application at a time. We have lots of different applications and we're switching between different tasks. There's also some built-in security features, a secure boot up. Windows Defender has got some improvements. So secure boot up, effectively, it will prevent any what you would probably term dubious applications from running when your machine starts up. So the updated start menu. So it's now centered, but although it can be moved, you can pin applications and it will also give you recommended files. So if I jump out of the presentation and we can have a look at Windows 11 itself. So I'll just minimize a few of these windows. So my new Windows 11 desktop. So as I'd mentioned, your start menu now by default sits in the center of the taskbar at the bottom. It can be configured to be moved over to the left if you prefer. So with our start menu, as I'd mentioned, slightly different. So when you go into start, as with previous versions of Windows, you can pin applications. There's a search bar at the top. You can search for them. It also gives you links to recommended files that you've looked at recently. So in this case, it's recommending There's some Excel files, there's a Microsoft Forms. These are things that I've interacted with recently. So it just gives me recommended shortcuts to access things. If I wanted to find an application that's not pinned onto my start menu, I can simply go up to the search up at the top. And for example, I've got an application called PDF Docs. So I just simply start typing the name of the application. It will run a search. In this case, it's even picked up. Was I actually looking for PDF Docs? So what it gives me the option of is I can search for everything that it finds on my laptop related to PDF. I can search for results within work, which will show me files, folders. I can look for apps. I can look for documents. I can do a web search. I can check settings. I can look for people. I can look for folders, and I can look for photos. So with any of these, I can narrow it down. If I was looking for a document relating to PDF, it will go and find any documents that contain PDF. If what I'm looking for is the app, I'll search for PDF Docs. Rather than having to search for it every time I want to use it, if I right-click it, I can pin this to the start menu. I can pin it to the taskbar. So I'll pin this to start. Oh, when I go back out, it will now pin PDF Docs. So I can customize my start menu to show me the applications that I'm using regularly. It's pinned PDF Docs. It just adds it as the last one. You can move these around as well. So if I right click onto this, gives me the option. I can pin it to the taskbar, so it's permanently available on my taskbar. It also shows me any recent files that I've used, and I can unpin it from the start. It also gives me this option under a right click that I can move it to the front. So if I move this to the front, it moves my shortcut icon up to the top of my pinned list. So your start menu, it's completely customizable. So you can go in and search for apps, for files, for documents, for folders, and you can pin any of your applications that you use regularly onto your start menu. If I just click away to collapse this out, you can also search immediately. So I've got my search. Once I click into it, it'll open up. It shows me things that I've searched for recently. So some applications that I've used. I ran a search for Visio. You can also search for people. So it also gives me some suggestions of people that I've been interacting with recently. I can search in 365, so I can jump into my documents, I can check my profile. So search will search absolutely everything. So immediately just from my desktop, I can search for an application, I can search for a file, a folder, or a person. Okay, so that's our start menu. So move to the center. I can search for my apps. Once I find one, under a right click, I can pin them to the start. I can unpin to the start, and I can pin them to the taskbar as well if I wanted to set up my shortcuts. So other new features of Windows 11, one of them is something called Task View. So this sits on my taskbar at the bottom, just to the right of search. I've got what's called Task View. Now, previous versions of Windows, you could have multiple desktops, but it's been improved for Windows 11. Now, if you're anything like me, I'm working with several Word documents. I've got Teams open. I've got an Excel spreadsheet. I've got a presentation. I've got Outlook open. So if I want to see the different applications I've got open, rather than just hovering on them at the bottom to see where they are, if I go into Task View, Task View will show me all of the applications that I've got open currently. It will even show me I've got dual screens. So what it shows me is on my main screen here, these are the different applications I've got open. It also shows me on my second screen that I've also got a document, I've got this meeting, and I've also got a Teams chat open. So from any of these, so if I wanted to go and check my calendar, I can click my calendar. However, what this gives me is if I right click onto one of these, so let's say this Windows 11 PowerPoint. Previous versions of Windows, if I wanted to arrange my windows, I would drag the window either off the screen to the left or right, it would snap into position. Now with Task View, I can right click onto any window. I can choose, I want to snap it to the left, I want to snap it over to the right. It also gives me this option, I can move it so I can create a second desktop. So I might decide I want to move this onto a completely new desktop. So what I'm going to do now though is I'm going to snap this over to the left. It snaps my presentation onto the left hand side, then shows me, okay, here's the other windows I've currently got open. So I'm going to use this Viva Engage outline document. I just simply click the other window that I want. Now, if I just maximize this, and I'll just minimize this down, and let's just maximize my PowerPoint window again. So from my task view, I can right click onto any window. I can snap to the left, I can snap to the right. Alternatively, I go back to my desktop. Let's just bring up a window. Oops. Using the drag, if I drag this up into the top right corner, it will also now let me split my screen into 4 separate snapped windows. So in this case, if I drag it up to the top right, it gives me 4 separate quarters. So click the one that I want, it then moves to show me I've got additional ones. So if I then decided I want File Explorer, so I can change what's being displayed in my different windows. The other thing that it does, if I go back into Task View, is I've now got Desktop 1 with my 3 windows on. For Desktop 2, because I've got so many applications open, what I can do is I can organize these. So I might decide my tickets, I want to move this to a new desktop. And I've now got a completely new desktop with just one application on it. I can go back to my previous one. If I jump back into my task view, if I wanted this Excel spreadsheet, for example, I can also drag and drop windows onto different desktops. And you can have multiple desktops as well. But this just makes life a little bit easier where I'm multitasking with multiple different windows. Using task view and multiple desktops, I can organize things. So if I jump to this desktop, I go into my task view, I can just have applications open on a individual desktop. If I jump over to desktop 1, it takes me back. So in the task view, I can create multiple desktops and I can swap around where my applications are stored on my different desktops. Okay. Let's just jump out of task view. So as I've mentioned, using things like Snap Assist, if I go into my task view, I can right click onto any one of these. I can snap to the left, I can snap to the right, I can move them to a completely new desktop. The other options that you get is I can also choose to show a particular window on all of my desktops. So I've got desktop 1 and desktop 2. It may be, for example, I might want my Outlook. I want this to be available on all of my desktops. So if I switched across to desktop 2, I want to be able to access Outlook permanently. So if I set this to show on all desktops, I will now have Outlook available on desktop 1 and on desktop 2. Okay. Other things within Windows 11, just down in the bottom right corner, I'll just minimize some of these windows again. So down in the bottom corner where I've got the date and time, if I click onto the date and time, it will show me notifications. But the other thing that it gives me is down in the corner, I've got this option that I can say, I want to set up a focus. And I can choose how long I want this focus. So I might decide from now, I want to focus for 30 minutes. What this is going to do is it's going to snooze my notifications. So currently it's set as do not disturb. So just like within Teams, when you share your screen, it sets you as do not disturb. You don't have to be in a Teams meeting. You can use Windows 11 to say, I want to give myself some focus time. I can click focus and it gives me a focus period. So this, I can ignore it, but the different thing with it is I won't get notifications of emails coming in, etc. So, and you can turn these on and off. I can pause it and I can restart it. But it's just a handy tip. If you're getting a lot of email and you just want just a little bit of time to yourself to be able to concentrate on what you're doing, you can just go in, you can set a focus, and it will effectively, it sets your do not disturb, so you won't be bothered with notifications of messages, etc. coming in. Okay. Other things within Windows 11, there's something called widgets. Now, widgets sit down in the bottom left corner. So at the moment, it's got my weather. So currently, it tells me it's 8 degrees and it's cloudy. If I just hover over this, it will open up my widgets bar. Now, I've customized mine. So on this left-hand side, I can add widgets. So I've got a focus session. I've also added a Microsoft feed. So this is things that are happening within my 365 environment. So the Windows 11 webinar, I'd been looking at a Copilot webinar, somebody's posted something into Teams. If I scroll down a little bit further, I've added a widget for notes. So this note sidebar is just simply a quick note-taking app. I've got the weather, I've got details of traffic incidents. Also within here, if I go to following, I've added some channels. Now, the purpose of these is you can add channels of things that are of interest to you. So in my case, I've added cybersecurity, I've added artificial intelligence, and I've added Microsoft. What this will do is it will go and collate information from sites across the web that are linked to cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, Microsoft. So in this case, TechRadar Pro. So it finds newly released articles, news, information based on my interests. So, and you can add as many of these as you want. But the thing with it is it just gives you effectively a news feed. So within these, you just go to simply add a channel and you can search for your channels. There are a whole raft of preset ones. There's some recommended ones, so things like for news, etc. But you just simply add the areas that are of interest to you. You've got your own customized news feed. As I've mentioned with these widgets, you can add them. So if I go into add a widget, So there are some preset ones. So there's a countdown, there's a focus session. I'd added my Microsoft feed. There are things like sports and timers, but you can go and find widgets within the Microsoft Store. It's very much like any app store. There are literally hundreds, if not thousands of them in there. But again, it just lets you customize what's useful to you. So I want to quickly set up a focus session. I just want to very quickly get a feed of news and updates that are happening within 365. I want to be able to take some notes. Okay, let's just click away from this. So this is widgets, as I say, down in the bottom left-hand corner. When we open it up, if we go into following, you can add your own channels so that you can display a news feed of things that are of interest to you. Okay. Other things that are slightly different for Windows 11 is print screen. Now, if I just bring up a document. So previous versions of Windows, print screen would just take a screenshot of everything that's on your screen. Now, you may have come across something called the snipping tool, which allows you to take a snip of something that's on screen. Windows 11 have integrated the snipping tool and print screen. So when I press print screen, what it now does, and I don't know how well this shows up, is turns my screen slightly shaded, gives me this little crosshair. I can then click and drag across the area on screen that I want. And it will take a copy of that, then allows me, I can then paste that into a document or into an email, rather than having to do a print screen, get the entire screen, then crop it down to get the part that I was actually looking for. So as I've mentioned, now with just a print screen, I can go and select the area that I want, and it will just take that particular portion and I can paste it in. Okay. Other things that are sort of slightly different within Windows 11, if I jump it into File Explorer. So within File Explorer, as I'd mentioned right at the start, the design of it is hopefully it's a nice, clean, uncluttered, modern look. Under Home in File Explorer, it will give me recommended files. So things that I've been looking at or working on recently. You can favorite files and it gives you your recent files. Going into a folder, if I just go into I'll go to my demo team documents. So I can drill down through. Let me find the one that's got something in it. Okay. Under a right click for Windows 11, the pop-up context menu is slightly different. So now on a folder or a file, when you right click onto it, you get your cut, your copy, you can rename. If I take a copy of this, I'll just go back up. Pasting, again, the context menu is very slightly different, but you can paste now sits up at the top. Views, just like in previous versions, you can customize your views. You can sort your files. But the whole idea of it is, if I select a folder, you've also got cut, copy, paste. You can also delete. So you've got the tools on the little toolbar across the top. Also options for creating new items. So for example, I want a folder, I want a shortcut. I can even go in and create a completely new document within here without having to go and open that application to do it. Okay. Other things that I'd mentioned within Windows 11, I'll just jump back to my presentation. Just open this up. So as we'd mentioned, Start menu, slightly different. It gives you recommended files. Taskbar improvements, so icons have been redesigned. The whole thing is designed to be more user-friendly. As I'd mentioned, snap layouts, snap assist. So now not only can you snap 2 windows side by side, you can have 4, you can create virtual desktops. So you can group your multiple applications into more logical desktop groups. System performance. So Windows 11 is designed to boot up much faster. It also has efficient resource management, so it should optimize performance. So as I've mentioned, Microsoft recognize that people are multitasking with lots of different applications. So it should be much smoother running all those different applications. Other changes, some good news. Windows updates is much more streamlined. So this should be much quicker. Update sizes are smaller, so to reduce your download time. And there's also enhanced security. So delivering your security patches, system reliability, bug fixes, and safety. So, but all of this is designed to be quicker, smoother. Security features. Uses hardware-based isolation to protect your sensitive data and processing. As I'd mentioned, the secure boot feature, so only trusted software can run as you're starting up, helping to prevent or block unauthorized access and malware. And there's also improvements to Windows Defender as well. It certainly isn't a thing of you don't have to be careful with cyber threats, but it's just to make you aware that there have been improvements in protecting you against these threats. Okay. So that more or less covers the new or enhanced features of Windows 11. As I'd mentioned, the whole purpose of it is that it's a much cleaner, more streamlined view. A cleaner start menu, much more intuitive. Task view, creating multiple desktops for organizing where you're multitasking, but also enabling you to be able to find all of the different applications that you've got open when you go into your task view. So you can quickly get between the different files, applications that you're working on. Okay. A slightly shorter session than